Many kids with autism have a difficult time finding a job after graduation. We all want our child or clients to be as independent as possible into adulthood. And part of that is being able to find a job. But what can we do to help kids who are teens transitioning to adulthood to find the independence after graduation? Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Barbera, autism mom, board-certified behavior analyst, online course creator, and best-selling author of The Verbal Behavior Approach. Each week, I provide you with some of my ideas about turning autism around. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do that now. Today, I'm interviewing an attorney and an author, Gary Mayerson, who gives advice on how to better prepare our children with autism for life following graduation. To hear the whole podcast interview, you can go to marybarbera.com/43 or click the card on the screen now. So you are writing a second book that will be out soon called The Autism's Declaration of Independence. So tell us about that book. How is that different than your first book, and why are you writing it?
Autism's Declaration of Independence focuses on basically the ramp up, how to get the best possible outcome for your child upon the transition to adulthood. And I think that so much of our focus, whether as clinicians or as educators, is we're looking at the child that year. We're focusing way too much on that particular school year as opposed to taking the long view and making a plan or a series of plans that will put that child into the best possible place of self-sufficiency and independence when that child graduates from the public school system. So I think that, and I've seen this, hundreds of times now, where families are doing all they can, the school district is doing what they think is right, and then the child graduates to unemployment, necessarily having to live with their parents, as opposed to, and that could be a great choice for students too, but not by default, and having a housing crisis, and everybody's saying, well, they graduated, but what did they graduate to? So the NJRF case is part of what they've said, and part of what Congress has said is they're really focusing on the outcome. We're looking at what is the outcome as the proof of whether the programming and everything that was happening in school was effective. So the book is about how to shape your child's educational program through the assessment process, through using experts, through accessing the programming and the supports that are available in the public school system, so that the child is able to graduate to something that's meaningful and fulfilling for them upon the transition to adulthood. So much of what we see today is that you will see conference after conference about transition. That's the issue today. It's no longer, we've already bought into, we know that ABA is demonstrably effective. We don't have to keep reinventing that wheel over and over again as we did 15 or 20 years ago. Now it's accepted. The Surgeon General has said that it's an effective method. The New York State Department of Health has a 3 or 4 volume set that was published in the 1990s that said it was the effective method. So we don't have to reinvent or fight some of those battles again, But we do have to keep sharpening our pencil a little bit so that we have better outcomes for students with autism, whether they are, and I hate this terminology, high functioning, low functioning. I don't care about any of that. Wherever the child is, the Supreme Court use of the word potential means that child has a potential, and we need to be using that potential to determine what's an appropriate and meaningful program for that child. And we should look at the outcome of how independent we were able to get that student, how self-sufficient we were able to get that student as a measure of our success. Because ultimately, we all know how much it costs to sustain a person with autism who has to live in a group home or in some other similar facility. It's millions of dollars over a lifetime, millions of dollars. And if you're going to invest the money, invest in independence and invest in self-sufficiency. That's sustainable. And today we're seeing many more students with autism. I'm not just talking about Asperger's, but with regular autism going on to a college experience, going on to a vocational experience. One of the other hats that I wear is I'm the board chair of a not-for-profit called Job Path, which is located in New York City. And Job Path does what the public school system has pretty much failed to do, which is provide the appropriate vocational training, assessment, and services so that the student, even if they don't go on to college, has some kind of skill. So, and these are not just jobs. There are some of the jobs are, scanning or shredding jobs in offices, but many of them are working in a restaurant, preparing food, working in an office, putting files together, and so forth. So, today's autism graduate has a future to look forward to in many cases that just didn't exist 10 or 20 years ago. So I think job development is a gigantic issue. When you're talking about an unemployment rate, and we can argue about whether it's 80%, 85, or 90, or 95%, but it's way high. It's too high. If you're a typically developing person and you see the unemployment rate going over 5%, you freak. This is at least 80, 85%. It's just unacceptable.
Wow.
So what are we going to do? As the book is, and the book also contains many stories from the cases we've had. Some of the more interesting stories. We have vignettes of what happened in the case, the backstory. So I think that a lot of families might find interesting to see what happened in these particular cases. So the book it's a different approach. Yes, it has the practical strategies that parents can use if they're at loggerheads with the school district, how to go to mediation, how to send a 10-day letter, how to demand due process, how to settle the case. It has all that, but it has more. And the more is basically the forward-looking, looking towards a sustainable future and the transition to adulthood.
Yeah, which is so important. And when you're talking about transition, the transition age when we really are required by law to start looking at it is age 14. But even if you have a 10-year-old or 12-year-old who is very impaired, instead of arguing and litigating whether they should have this or that, we really also need to be looking at what are they going to do at 16? What are they going to do at 18? What are they going to do at 25 years of age? Because that should help shape the IEP. Because like you said, independence is so important, and it is one of the things that I've focused on over the years. The other thing you said is you have this Job Path nonprofit, which is awesome. And I just want to also encourage behavior analysts and teachers listening is you don't have to send kids to a program or even have a program already established. You may use ABA principles to go in like I did when I had a 6th grader client, and then I had him up through 21. So at age 14, we started looking, where is this student going to be able to go for transition trials, for work trials? I didn't have any experience. It's kind of like being a waitress. It's like you just have to start working with where you can volunteer, where you can observe, who's willing. Like the guy at the local restaurant here, he's like, Lucas can come in anytime, with his aide, who's not a job coach or anything, but she knows ABA, she knows Lucas, we'll figure it out. So some of it is just because there's just not enough established programs right now to deal with the influx of kids that are going to be coming. And so I really think your book's going to be important, and this podcast is important to tell people, we just need to start developing things based on the individuals that you have and their needs, and use the principles. Like when I went into a laundry at the hospital, I'm like, show me your simplest job, or with Lucas, he likes to sit to do work versus stand. He's bothered by loud noises. Okay, show me where is the quietest job, where's the simplest job, where's jobs that you could sit, and just start piecing together work trials that can give us data.
Sure, and parents, in some instances, have to be inventive and creative enough to start their own employment situation completely from scratch. We have a client family that lives in Kodiak Island, Alaska, the Pletnikoff family, and I say their name only because they've been very outspoken and they've used their name. Otherwise, it would be confidential, of course. But when their son was graduated from the public school system and was looking for employment, they came up with a fascinating idea, which is to create, dog tags. Lots of dogs in Kodiak Island, right? Dog tags, personalized dog tags, and their child was able to start this business and basically be an entrepreneur in an area that wouldn't necessarily have a lot of, regular jobs in office. They don't even have really that many offices in Kodiak Island. There's no ready employment other than the fishing industry. Pretty much, it's pretty much fishing oriented. So, but this is a situation where the family got together and they used their head and they said, what would be in demand here on Kodiak Island, and dog tags was something that worked for them. So, if you're a parent and you're living in a remote area, don't give up. You can just put on your thinking cap. You may come up with something that people need, and that will be a job for your child, or can be.
Wherever you're watching this, I'd love it if you would leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, share this video with others who may benefit. And for more information, you can attend a free online workshop at marybarbera.com/workshop. And I'll see you right here next week.